Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time.
Hi, welcome to Downsizing Roadmap. I'm Heather Fisher.
And I'm Jody Roscoe.
And today we're going to be tackling a topic that we definitely know can be hard. A lot of times downsizing can go hand in hand with other transition periods in our life. And sometimes that is after a loss, a spouse or a parent, a family member. The loss of that person is what's causing the need for downsizing or a change in location. So we're going to talk today about downsizing after a loss, grief and healing, and just how to make that transition to a new home through those phases. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I've been through this phase. I've been through that whole thing. So I definitely understand it. And it is difficult because downsizing can be challenging no matter what. But then when you add on that level of emotional distress, it can paralyze you for a little while. And honestly, part of what we're going to say is that's okay. Take a minute. It doesn't have to be, unless you are really crushed for a different reason. Sometimes it's better if you just take a minute.
Yeah, I think that it circles back to what we hope for everyone out there listening is that, hopefully before you're at this point, you've made some plans and gotten yourself a little bit ready so that then now you can focus on your grief and the transition, if needed, is a little bit easier. But we know that that's not always what happens. And so we're going to talk through, maybe some strategies and suggestions and just hopefully some comfort if you're there in the midst of both, grief for someone that you loved and needing to handle the house, a move, a new location, all of those things at the same time, and how to make sure you take care of yourself through the process.
Yeah, because it's not just a physical move, it's emotional for sure. And then it's maybe a little extra emotional when you have a loss. So
yeah, I think all moves are definitely emotional. As realtors, we see that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's that exciting change in life emotion of something, bigger, different, better, a new location that you were hoping for, more kids, things like that. But from the outside looking in, I think sometimes people forget that a move sometimes can be around, topics that are not quite the happy emotions,
right.
Death and divorce, and
right, we see it all.
We do,
and even when we moved because we wanted to a different house, the kids struggled a little bit in the beginning. It was hard, just the change itself was hard.
Yeah.
And so everybody's good now, and I think that's something to remember. Life kind of goes in waves, and sometimes it feels down, and it will go back up again. And so when you're down in it, sometimes it feels like it's never going to go back up again, but it will.
Yeah.
It will.
Yeah. And so in this process, the grief when you're surrounded by all of the familiar things of your current home or the home of that person that you loved so much, that grief can envelop you just to go in the space.
For sure. I did not want to go to my mom's house at all.
I was going to say, I remember, as you were going through that and just to get the home ready to sell, all of that, there is a time where it's okay to give yourself, some space and some time, or to call in outside resources.
Yeah, I had some friends that came and helped me, and that was really, really helpful. So we will talk about that as a strategy too. But, and sometimes you just have to make yourself go. I mean, we took longer than we needed to, just because it's easy to put it off, and sometimes it's just hanging over you. So we'll kind of talk about, when is it to wait too long too. So I was looking up just kind of like the stages of grief and like when is it a good time, right, to do it. And so the stages, denial is number one. denial, and that means you're numb. You feel totally numb. You're in shock. You can't believe this is happening. You might avoid, if you live in the house still, you might avoid their room or belongings entirely. You're not because you're lazy, you just can't deal. You just cannot deal with that. Your brain's kind of protecting you from that emotional pain. So that's not a good time to start. You just need to focus on your basic routine, eating, taking care of yourself, resting. It's really about you right then. So unless it's super urgent and something that needs to happen, I would say give yourself that time in denial. Anger is next, right? Yeah. Why did this happen? Why did they leave? You can be frustrated at the situation, frustrated at the person, and maybe kind of annoyed with all their stuff because you're feeling like, oh my gosh. And that's also not a good time because you might have some energy around it, but it might not. It might like just clear it all out and not, really thoughtfully think through it.
Yeah, that's maybe a time if you've just got that anger energy and that need to do something, that might be the time to tackle not the memory items, not their clothing. It's interesting. A lot of times in our downsizing class, we say, clothing is one of the easy items. And when it's your own closet, it definitely is. You're just looking for things that don't fit, things you don't like. It's such a, thoughtless process. Yeah. You're just looking for those things. But in this instance, when you're cleaning out someone else's things, clothing definitely switches to one of the harder, may still have the person's smells around it, or, that worn in feel, and you're
just the memory of them wearing it whenever they were, that it brings back very strong memories, and especially the smell of them, and it brings back all of that. So clothes are super hard. They go from the super easy to the super hard, depending on which way you're doing it.
Yes.
And we've talked about this a little bit, we have had clients who honestly have done a lot of their grieving before the loss because, it might have been a long illness or something like that. And if that's the case, this is an okay time because, you're feeling ready, you've got that energy, you're like, okay, let's just get on with it and whatever. So just proceed with caution, I guess, in the anger phase. Like sometimes it could be okay and energizing, but be careful that you're not throwing away all of the things. Yeah. Don't make final decisions. Maybe just box some things up. Maybe make a little bit more, a few more maybe boxes or things like that if you're feeling like that.
Yeah.
Number 3 is bargaining. Like if I keep this room exactly the same, maybe this pain will go away. So, you've seen those rooms. We've been in houses where, oh my gosh, they just closed the room and it's like they never left.
Yeah, a shrine versus keeping a legacy.
Yeah. So in that phase, you're probably going to get stuck with what ifs. What if I keep this? What if I keep this? What if I let it go and I'll be upset? So just kind of trying to cling to things because you're thinking that's what's going to keep you connected.
Yeah.
And so in that way, you could do something like start a journal or, do something along those lines where you're writing memories or videoing or voice memories or whatever that looks like, so that it kind of helps you separate the stuff from the story. And so remember, stuff's just stuff unless it has a story. And so you kind of can start. And I think that is a way to kind of bring you through some grief, honestly, to be able to remember those stories.
I would say it's a good time to try to notice what things you gravitate towards when you're especially missing the person. What are those touchstones that do give you some comfort in the pain?
Yes.
And those that will be the indications of what you should keep going forward.
Yes.
So, as always, it's never an all or nothing. We're not saying get rid of everything or, it's not possible to keep everything. So those are the ways you can follow your emotions as to, what shirt or sweater do you want to wrap yourself in to remember them by? Or what, item in a room do you just love, or you want to start using their favorite coffee cup? Those items that bring you comfort, try to notice those in these stages of grief.
Yes, for sure. Stage 4 is depression. So they're gone and I just feel empty. Like I feel overwhelmed and really emotionally heavy or empty or whatever. And in this stage, it's almost like do tiny steps to get yourself out of this stage, to be honest. Like you just kind of sorting can trigger sadness, but it can also be cathartic.
Yeah.
It can be a happy sad or a sad happy or whatever level of that. But if you're ready, that can be a path to get past it.
I think productivity can always help pull us out of those depressions and down moments in our life. Just accomplishing some small things,
tiny even,
always just help shift that instead of being settled in that spot for too long.
Right. So that goes back to when we're always saying, 10 minutes a day or one, small area. So do that, set a timer. If it feels okay, you can keep going. If it doesn't, stop. And sometimes just stop, like until don't go until it doesn't feel okay. Just do your 10 or 15 minutes and let it, just stop. Like I did it, like you're baby stepping your way forward.
Absolutely.
And then number 5 is acceptance. So they're gone and I'm going to live with it. And obviously this is a good ideal stage to do it. You can make decisions from love and not from pain. And you can talk about things and, not feel so guilty and be more clear about what's actually happening. We're talk about creating that legacy box or that box of memories or whatever. And I think you'll be able to be more clearly able to do that. But remember, grief it's not linear. So you can be trucking along and you're feeling like, okay, I'm okay and I'm accepting. And then the counselor that I talked to after my mom, he called them grief bombs. And you would just be going along in your day. And then all of a sudden, you'd hear a song or, some memory for no reason would come into your mind. And you're just back in way back in your journey of
5
grief.
steps back, of course.
And so don't give yourself a hard time around that either. So today could be a day that you can, and tomorrow could be a day that you can't, and that's okay. And to the next day, don't think that's the end of it, right? The next day, it'll be okay again. So, or as okay as it's going to be, or whatever that looks like.
Yeah. I mean, time always heals or eases that pain. So when you need time, take it whenever you can. And if you don't have the luxury of taking all of the time you need, then it's definitely the time to pull in friends and family and the people that want to support you through your loss. The things they can do is to help you through, these stages and to help you with just some of the things that are required for downsizing, sorting and packing and making decisions on things. Let some other people do some of the less hard things.
Yeah, for sure. And you don't have to follow any kind of a set timeline. Unless you do have to be out. But even still, if that's the case, if you can pack some boxes and put them somewhere where if there's things that you just cannot make decisions on. But don't be like, I should be ready by now, or people will say things that they mean well, but you're good, you should be over it, things that they shouldn't say.
Yeah.
But there's no shame in waiting until you're ready emotionally and you're feeling steady enough to do it. I think the AARP said 68% of widowers wait a year.
Yeah. Which for various life changes, you just need that time to process and don't make major decisions unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah, and the year, it doesn't mean that you can't move forward at all in that year.
Yeah.
But maybe, not sell your house quite yet and just get yourself to a
Ease
place.
into it.
Unless, again, you've already processed some of it before it even happened, because that can happen too. So, so signs that you might be ready to start. The home is feeling more like a museum than a sanctuary. Like your home is not feeling peaceful. It's feeling just, surrounded by things you don't use or it's not working for you.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you could start with is as you go through your day-to-day routine, still living in the house and doing that, make your routine work for you and easy for you. And so, maybe something to start with is toiletries in the bathroom and things like that to clean out so that you can start to go through your day without being visibly reminded at every moment of somebody who's not there going through the routine alongside of you. Mm-hmm. So you can start to just change things in a way where things are still there. You still have your memories. You have all the things that you loved. It's not 100% change, but you're just starting to make a new routine that's your things that you need, and you're not reminded every minute of the day.
Yeah. So if the stuff's starting to feel like a burden instead of a comfort, or you're, imagining yourself somewhere else, you're starting to do that, then that's, and it comes in waves, but that's giving you an idea that it's time that you can, get started on those things.
Yeah.
So starting to do it, honestly, having a friend or a professional is probably the best. Doing it by yourself is really hard. And because part of it is the legacy of that person, and you will be reminded of lots of things, then you need to tell the stories, and you need somebody to be there to tell the stories. So when you're doing it by yourself, there isn't anybody to tell the stories to.
Yeah.
So having somebody there, family, friends, professional person that can help you, anybody there that can listen to the stories is what you need.
Yeah, makes it so much easier to release that item once you've shared the story around it.
And then set time limits. We've talked about that. Set the time limits. You can take an approach that's keep, release, and share. So keep the items that bring you joy, that bring warmth to you. Release the duplicates or things that you didn't even like. There's stuff there that you didn't like.
Now's your chance for the junk gone. Yes, I think in that release, it's worded here, things you didn't like, but I think there's probably major categories of things that weren't relative to your memories or things. If they, had hobbies that you weren't involved with, and it's just equipment for that, or just, lawn and yard tools that were just there, and that's not the essence of the person that you're trying to remember in that legacy sense. Definitely try to find those areas to start with, and those will be much easier to gain a little bit of progress.
Yeah. But there probably are things that you didn't like that
yes.
you had to put up with that you don't have to anymore.
Yes.
And then obviously share items that could bring comfort to others, to your kids or your parent, it's just siblings, whoever. Does anybody want things, their friends, that meant something to them?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the first things you should do after deciding, what you're ready to let go of. Make sure you're not, not asking when someone else might be in an earlier stage of grief, and really appreciate some of those items.
Yeah. I mean, cleaning out office, paperwork, office supplies, things like that, the pantry, things that just aren't as personal.
Yeah.
And then keep record of those stories as you find things and you think about them. Just keep record of those. Whether that's writing it down, whether that's creating a memory box or a scrapbook or a video or a recording. whatever that is.
Yeah. I think we meet a lot of clients that are struggling on that time frame of when then it's the right time to leave the house and go somewhere else, because where they may have been ready or thinking about it together, or not, that dynamic shifts a little bit. And if you've lived your life with someone in one location for quite a while, you do get that emotion of leaving them behind. This might be a time where, you know, your adult kids are also in various stages of grief, and where without the loss, they may have seen how practical it was to make a downsizing move, but you're getting a little more pushback because everybody's emotions are in a different place. So we see that a lot, trying to figure out when is the right time, and giving permission to yourself that it's okay, you're still here with a life to live, and you need it to be, you know, easier and safer and work for you, and find that new social aspect that you might be missing, you know, to overcome the loneliness you might be feeling in the house. So it's definitely a hard decision for people to get over that hurdle of feeling like they're just leaving that whole memory behind, but you're really not. And if you do it correctly with you know, honoring that legacy you want to bring forward with you, it's okay.
I think what you said just now is that you have a life to live is so true, and so where people get lost. I feel like we have a lot of clients that we have had, or people that I know have been stuck in that phase of grief where they don't want to let go of anything because it feels like they're going to lose them, and the house included in that. It feels like they are letting them, you know, go in a way that doesn't feel good. Yeah. That it would hurt, that it hurts to let go of those things. And I feel like people get really stuck in that stage. They can get through, you know, the anger and all of that, but they just start clinging, you know, to the house and the things, and never really get past it. And because I don't think they take that step, which we always talk in our 5-step process, is step number 1 yeah. is let's be a little dreamy about what our life can look like. And I get that that is very difficult when you've been with somebody for a long time and they're not here, and that wasn't your choice, and now your new life has been thrust upon you when you didn't want it, and that wasn't the vision for your future. And getting to a place where you realize, you know, okay, yes, all of that stinks, but I do have a life to live, and what am I going to do with it? And that is, I think, that year, that I think is really what needs to be focused on before you start cleaning out and moving the stuff, is just accepting, which is hard, accepting that this is what has happened and you didn't want it to, and moving forward.
And remembering that that person that you've lost, I mean, there was so much love there. They would not want you to be sitting in the grief for forever and right. not moving forward. So it is, you know, it sounds hard to say, be dreamy about your new life, but truly that is what you need to do to move forward, is to imagine what it can look like for the life that you're here to live. You know, you can't change the loss. So how do you move forward? Enjoy those memories, but find the things that make your life easier and more joyful when you can.
I think that was my biggest lesson, because I've had a lot of loss in the last few years. And my biggest lesson about that was that I literally have no control over that. I have no control over what that looks like. And, but I do have control over my own life. And so accepting it releases some of the pain. And so pushing back against it keeps you stuck in the pain. And so as you move forward, being able to accept that will get you out of that pain that you don't want to be in the first place. And so I just do see people get stuck there in that pain and be unable to move forward. And it's the acceptance, but I'm saying it like, oh, just accept it. And I do not believe it's that easy, but that is the answer.
Yeah. And we've seen clients and people we know that have been able to do that, and they're thriving in life. And we absolutely know that they don't feel any less grief over the loss of the person in their life. That is unchanging. And all of us that have lost someone, that doesn't change. We wish they were here. We want that. But when they have been able to work through the process, get themselves ready to go, and then step into the new phase, honestly, with a little bit of bravery and courage to do that, maybe do that alone when they weren't planning on doing that alone, that when they've jumped in with that, I'm going to go do, what I want to do right now, we see their smiles and we see how they're, living a good life, and that's what we would want for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, when my grandpa passed away, my Nana, it was a good year, but then she went and just dove into all kinds of things, book club and, docing at a museum and all kinds of things just to, change up her life a little bit, because it isn't going to be what you thought it was going to be. That is not a future that you get to have anymore. And that stinks, and trying to reconcile that is hard, but purposefully thinking about what things that you like and that you could spend some time doing, and meeting new people through that. She met all kinds of new people through that. So it is a choice. It's a choice. And what happened probably wasn't a choice. It wasn't a choice. And so that makes you feel a little bit more powerful to be able to control those things when there was stuff that you just couldn't control.
And honestly, something new that you've never done with that person that you've lost is actually a little easier than trying to maintain your exact routine and all of the exact same things, but then doing them without your partner.
That's awful.
Because you're constantly feeling the missing, that, oh, we did this together. We went to this club together. We did whatever
we see that
activity.
In the holidays too. Like, it's different. Like, and without those people that were there, it feels weird. And so we've, trying to figure out how we're going to create different traditions that don't, feel like the missing hole of the tradition that we had. You know what I mean? It's just so yes, all of that, you just need to change it, because trying to keep it the same without them feels super weird. Yeah. Very, very weird.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when you're thinking about moving, you might be ready to move if you can talk about the house with more love, and your loved one with more love than pain. You can kind of imagine yourself in a new space, and it doesn't feel like you're betraying someone. You've made peace with your grief, even if it's not gone. And I mean, it may never be gone, to be honest, but it can be totally manageable. Yeah. And you're making the decision for your well-being, like yourself, not because you're trying to run away from the sadness. Like, make sure that you're not doing it like in a kind of knee-jerk reaction of like, I just have to get out of here, because that's not going to fix it either. That's still avoidance.
Yeah.
It's still not acceptance.
Yeah, we'll come back to face you soon.
So if you're feeling numb or indecisive or overwhelmed, and you haven't been able to sort through things, and you're just not ready, see what you can do to, give yourself a little bit more time. And sometimes your family will be pressuring you, or finances will be pressuring you. And if that's the case, you may have to, figure out how to do it a little bit more quickly, but little, at least even just create that habit of a little bit at a time.
Yeah. Give yourself that emotional space and time, even if it's a shorter window due to necessity.
Yeah. Ask yourself if you're running from something or if you're running towards something.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. And figure out what it is you want to be running towards. Like, that's the thing, figure out where you could, just one thing that you could go do that might make you feel, like you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel peaceful or panicked when you're talking about it? So, again, I think it's emotional decision, not just a physical decision. And you'll know as you're moving towards it. And hopefully you can have some people in your life who are supportive of what that looks like.
Yeah, I think you want people to walk down the road beside you, helping you along.
Not shoving you.
Don't want someone shoving you down the road. And, find that spot and those people that can help you move forward, because I don't think anybody should stay not moving forward in ways big or small, and not finding ways to move past the grief and make the changes they need to. But definitely a mistake to just be pushed into it, pressured into it before you're ready.
Yeah, and guilt shouldn't really be playing a part of it. There should just be no guilt around it. It's what is going to be best for you, or your family. If you're an adult child and you're trying to work through this with one of your parents is gone and one is still here, and what are we going to do? There just doesn't need to be guilt around it. It's just making decisions about what is the best thing to do next with, a lot of the decisions you made before probably were different because there were different circumstances. And so now that the new circumstances are here, what are those good decisions now? So take a fresh look at what the future decisions are.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you had a downsizing plan started, before the loss happened, it is definitely the time to revisit your paperwork, revisit your plan, revisit where you were thinking of going. Make sure that all of those things still are the best fit for the new situation.
Yeah, I mean, where is it that's going to make you feel like yourself again, or feel, like it's going to support healing for you? What does that place look like? Mm-hmm. About the thing, I mean, nobody wants to live in a shrine to some, it just needs to become something else. And if that house can do that, if where you are now can do that, that's great. Some people can do that. Some people can't. They just are like, this person's here everywhere in every corner, and I can't seem to, find myself in this place.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, sometimes the grief is adult children, and, maybe their second parent that they've lost, or the situation was just the one parent. And so that's another, that's the situation that you went through when the time is, a house sitting for a long time and it needs to be sold. And we meet people when we're talking about upcoming classes, and they're like, oh yeah, I have a storage unit of everything from my mom's house, or everything from my mom and dad's house is in my basement or my garage. So, these tips for working through the grief, we understand it takes time, but there are a lot of resources that can help for the pieces that aren't the memory items. And you can definitely pare down what you're saving for later to go through at a time when you're through the grief further. I know for you, you put a pause on the photos. That was a very hard category for you. And that worked well, but you didn't hang on to doing nothing for this long. Yeah. It was like, okay, I can handle things at different stages. Yeah. Got the house sold, and now you can
just
get to
take
that
some
point.
stuff. And sometimes you have to take a lot of stuff if you have to go really fast. We see families, like you said, storage units and this and that. And so if that's you and you are still living with that stuff, hanging around for you, just try to develop that habit, and 10, 15 minutes if it's in your house, an hour, like every weekend if you have to go deal with it, but just work your way through it. So, because it's weighing on you, even if it's in a storage unit somewhere that you're paying for.
Yeah.
But it is still weighing on you, like, oh, I need to deal with that stuff. Or it's in the basement and you have to go look through around it and all of the things or, attic storage or wherever it is that you just know it's there and that you need to be dealing with it. And you ask yourself all this stuff. Am I keeping this for them or am I keeping it for me? Because again, you just cannot keep it all forever as a shrine, kind of a thing. It doesn't allow you to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are someone that's going through grief right now, and considering downsizing, at the same time, we're definitely here to help. We have helped a lot of people through that, and, coming up with that strategy is what we would encourage anyone to do. Time frames can be long, time frames can be short, but there is a path through it, and we just really empathize with anyone going through those hard times. We've seen it ourselves.
Yeah, I think the path at the end, once you've gotten yourself through it, is that you'll have a peaceful space and you'll be renewed as a person, being able to breathe and, give yourself room to breathe. And I think
able to look on those memories with joy and remembrance and not frustration, that you're still overwhelmed.
Yeah. So good luck if this is you. You can get through it. So find a friend or some family members and just get started.
Yeah. We'll be back next time with some more downsizing advice. You can always reach out to us through our website, downsizingroadmap.com, and we will be back next time.
See you next time.
Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.